And I'm not trying to throw shade on non-hunters, but it is a question that they need to wrestle with themselves, because people don't like the killing of an animal. They're perfectly fine eating it if there's 100 hands that touched it in between the cow and your burger, because it's shielded behind this massive wall. I'll ask them the question, like, you go to a steakhouse? Yeah. You go get burgers? Yeah. You go to a fried chicken place? Yeah. And all of these things beg the question, like, why aren't you participating? Well, it's the death of the animal. If it's so easy to feel that way without ever actually having to do anything about it, then why do we do anything? And why don't we just walk around feeling great about ourselves? And it's virtue signaling in its rawest form. Well, now we have such the only time we're really faced with what that animal goes through is if we happen to be driving through a small town and we go, my God, what's that smell? And then we're met firsthand with the living hell that is these feedlots. And so I'm not there to turn off the steak eater who doesn't want to go hunting, but I'm there to pose the question, rather, what is it about eating protein that you don't want to participate in the actual harvesting of the protein? And I think that's a question that every meat eater needs to wrestle with to see truly how you feel about it. So I built Gastronomy Outdoors because I felt like there was a need to give a culinary vein to hunters and anglers. And what I did see is I saw a good amount of these individuals who were very much focused on conservation and very much focused on feeding their families, kind of utilizing the same recipes, so to speak, and bringing what they have hunted and taking it to a processor and kind of getting the same stuff. And there's only so much you can do with ground whitetail, And so what I wanted to do was take my background in not only cooking, but food history and food science, and take that application much more into the hunting space. And so we've built Gastronomy Outdoors to the sole purpose of being that culinary vein for hunters, and going much beyond just jerky and smoke rings and ground venison. A little bit of my discipline and a little bit of my angle is nutritional anthropology, right? Food history, the symbiotic relationship of man and food and man. And it's important to understand that throughout our history as a species, we come up to these points that it's no turning back, all right? This is the start of a war. This is the start of a movement. This is the invention of refrigeration. And as soon as that one thing happens, it changes the face of our food. And like I said, this could be World War II. This could be the large barges going from continent to continent, because now we're eating internationally. And so what I mean by all that is that something like COVID did a number on a lot of us. But what I did notice is what everybody else noticed, is that when you go to the grocery store and all you're eating is commodity protein, you walk in there and it's gone. And I can tell you right now, myself included, the hunters that I had in my life, we weren't scared of that. We were more, worried about toilet paper than we were trying to get, protein. And so that scared a lot of people. But there is this connection between what can I do at home? How can I offer that to my family, offer that to myself? But more importantly, this is clean protein. This animal had one bad day, and that was when it met you. And so if you walk through that the proper way as a hunter, you come out the other side with a good understanding that you're doing right. You really are doing right with the heart of conservation by taking care of this animal and feeding yourself with it. And it needs to be food centric. Food is an entry point for conservation because it's something we do more than 3 times a day as we eat, right? So, and it's not just part of our survival, it is our survival. Besides water, and having a roof over our head, obviously, there is food. And it is conservation because you'd be hard pressed to find a hunter that doesn't have a heart for conservation, because eating is just that important. There are bad hunters out there, right? Just like there's bad vegans out there. Not all vegans are bad, not all hunters are bad. And so what I mean by that is that if a responsible hunter looks at it as something that the benefit, the ROI to doing all of this is not just the spiritual aspect of being in nature and doing that and walking through those steps and spending time with their family, but it's also feeding them the ROI and the equity that they put in is fed back to them in a way that's so much more beneficial than just saying, oh, I'm doing good. And so that means that you are now a steward. You have a steward over, you have dominion really over this resource. And I think that right there is pretty much the definition. The heart of conservation is having that stewardship. And this is lost on a lot of non-hunters, because they'll sit there and go, well, how can hunting and conservation be hand in hand? It just takes a simple understanding to sit there and realize, well, in order for it to last, in order for us to celebrate this lifestyle and do what we do, and for me to do what I do and teach, conservation just needs to be a part of it, because I can't look down the road and say that the resource will always be abundant and it will always be available. And even in as many animals as I've taken, I walk up and I appreciate the animal. I appreciate its pelt. I look at these things and I take a picture of it, and I don't share the gutting, because no one really wants to see that. But I'll share the animal, on the ground, and I get so many people that will send me messages. They'll be like, hey, can you put an emoji over its face? I don't want to see its face, because then we're disconnected. And it's no longer, because the eyes give me a bad feeling when I see that on a screen and I see the rest of it and it's dead. And so that's their filter, pun intended, to be disconnected from their food system. And I think that we need to understand death in that way. We need to have the understanding. Even a vegan eating a corn cob needs to understand that gophers had to die for that corn cob to reach their plate. We are just facilitating that in the best way possible and getting much more food per pound off of our actual work. And it comes down to the fact that we're the top of our food chain. And anybody who disputes that is, okay, fine, like go on your way. I don't know how to have a conversation with that. We are the top of our food chain, and it goes back to that conservation and stewardship of looking at it and saying, this is important, and this is important for a reason, not just because I say it is. And a lot of the professors that I'm sure you had and I had are saying, this is important because I say it is, because there's no reason backed behind their nonsense of depopulation in order to save the earth. What it should be is yes, you are right. Man does destroy, but man also sometimes destroys in order to create, because nothing can be created without something being destroyed. And so that has to be looked at on a micro scale in the way of hunting. Like, we have to destroy something in order for us to be sustainable. But with that requires the understanding of the equity that we put into it, the ROI that we receive from it, and the fact that we are still the top of the food chain. And we're not going to lose that position anytime soon. So you can feel bad about it, but that doesn't change the fact that it still exists. With Women Hunt and Wild Sheep Foundation, we obviously have our sheep show. We have open enrollment coming up soon for Women Hunt, and this is going to be an awesome opportunity for anybody to know the women in their life who have that propensity in hunting, or even the outdoors. We even have one of our alumni here, and she was a vegetarian for 20 years. And she has that appreciation because she's walked through that process. So they don't have to be a vegetarian. They don't have to necessarily have been a hunter. And so I'm excited about that every year. We have Sheep Show every January, and that's our convention and expo in Reno. But really kind of the focus of what gastronomy does that I'm excited about is I get to travel the country teaching wild game. So if it's a ranch that needs that hands-on experience, we can do everything from doing a game dinner on one of the evenings that we're there, and then as everything comes into camp or into the ranch, we can actually walk through the multiple ways of utilizing it, butchering it, and having it ready for the plate. You can go to Gastronomy Company. I own 2 companies under that umbrella, Gastronomy Live Events and then Gastronomy Outdoors. And that gives you a good synopsis of how to reach us and what it is that we offer. And then we're also on Facebook and Instagram. Gastronomy Outdoors is our handle. Yeah, well, yeah. If you go on there, it's probably going to tell you, hey, you probably shouldn't follow this guy because he sources his own protein, and that's bad.